Well, today we're here with none other than former Celtic legends, former Scotland manager, Leeds player, Manchester United player, Southampton manager. I mean, you've done it all. We've got Gordon Strachan with us today. Welcome, Gordon.
Yeah, I think it says in my face that I've done it all. Yeah, looking at myself. But
obviously, as you know, coming up on Sunday is the latest instalment of the Old Firm Rangers Celtic Scottish Cup semi-final. It's a big game. The last few Old Firms have been pretty close affairs. It hasn't been a one-sided victory since the 4-0. So do you think things are getting closer? And my question to you would be, are there any Rangers players that would get in the Celtic team if you were managing Celtic at the moment?
yeah, it's very hard when you're picking black and white like that. I think, is there any that are wanting the squad? I think if you asked any Celtic guy, Celtic support, if you want to bring them over, that wouldn't happen. But just say Taverner wasn't in the Rangers team, they'd probably say he's not a bad player. If you had no again the squad, I think there is good players in there. I think Lundstrom's a good player. I think Tillman could be a good player. His potential to be a good player. Ryan Kent, you've seen Ryan Kent playing. And you think, yeah, that he would suit. But I don't know if he would suit the Celtic team off the moment, because when they play with wide players, they are wide. I think Ryan had a similar with Gio and Broncos, he played wide. He wasn't as effective as he is when he goes and plays from the middle to wide, that roving role. So there is players there that, you know, have made an impact on the Scottish game. It could have, if they hadn't played for Rangers, would Celtic be looking at them and thinking, yes, I think there would be. I think there's 4 or 5 there that would be. But the criteria, if you want to play for Celtic now, is you have to be the first thing that you have to be is technically good. Second, well, along with that, I think it's 50-50 with Ange at the moment. The Celtic philosophy is you have to be super fit, and you have to have the mentality to keep playing week in, week out at a high tempo. Now that would be the questions asked of anybody joins Celtic, whether it be, you know. So that's the first thing you need now. Have the players got that? You'd probably look and go, well, there's a lot of talented players out there, but do they have the fitness level and the attitude that the team come first and to play for 90 minutes? So that's a criteria to play for Celtic. So that might be a problem with some players when they join. And I think Michael himself said that, and I watched the final, the League Cup final, I was very close to it. And I thought, and I wasn't like most people. Most people thought it was a one-sided affair in the first half. I think, well, Celtic didn't make too many chances in that first half, if I remember rightly. And Rangers never made any. But they had a shape that didn't allow Celtic to have any chances. But what happened after about 38 minutes, the fitness level, I think Michael said that his after match press conference, that the fitness level went, which allowed Celtic to come in the last 10 minutes of the first half. So it shows you it's a huge thing, fitness level. And that's a test for anybody who plays for Celtic. You've got this, do you go for it and close them down and keep going at it? There's 2 problems there. If you're not super fit, you'll run out of energy. And if you do close down, when the ball comes back to you quickly, have you got the energy to play again when the ball arrives back at you? That's what the Celtic players can do. And top teams like Man City, Liverpool, when at their best, they close you down, but have they got the energy to use the ball again when they get it back? So that's a dilemma that most teams are in when they play against super fit teams, is do we go after them? But the fact is that our actual ability when we get it back is poor because of the tiredness. So it might be something, I think it's one of your questions coming up next. How do Rangers go about it? So I think what you've seen a couple of times is Rangers going, right, we'll go up against them, especially in the last couple of games. But they might be now thinking, why don't we just sit back a bit? Why don't we just sit back a bit, conserve our energy, let them come with us, and then try and hit them on the break? And to do that, you need to have speed up front. So it might be a time where they think, okay, we have goal scoring ability, Morelos and Kolak. They might think, why don't we just play everybody with frightening pace and we can get them the pace? Just go and sit back. Mm-hmm. So it might be something, might be a wee bit different. I think with big games like that, but Celtic won't change their style of play. But sometimes if you're not the best team, you have to try something different to win a game of football.
That's it, I suppose. And the fact that it's being played at Hampden Park, you know, at least now there'll be away fans there. The pitch is bigger. I don't know how that will affect things, but
the pitch it always seems bigger at Hampden for some reason. I don't know the actual. I think there's a couple of yards either way, which, funny enough, can make a big difference for it. But the fact is, which might help Rangers and any team that plays Celtic, is the ball boys are not part of the team.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good point.
Celtic, the ball boys are part of the team.
Mm.
If you watch them, they're on their front foot, the ball goes in. A number of times you watch it when the TV cameras can't keep up with it. It's quite frightening. The game starts because they've had the rest of it to think with some games on again. So even the cameras cannot keep up at times with Celtic. Mm-hmm. So it's a blessing that, you know, that I think it's at Hampden. It gives them a chance. I think the pitch is a bit slower at Hampden. I was on it recently, and there's a softness to it that Celtic, the ball flies quickly. So there's things in Rangers' favour.
Such as
in Celtics, as the fact that the ball's not coming in quickly with the kids, the ball a bit slower, the pitch is a bit slower. So there's a couple of things that might help them there.
You feel the fact that Celtic have got the treble on the line will play a part in their minds? Will it?
No. I think when you've got to that's again in the supporters' mind, but players. Ultimately, what the Celtic fans and Rangers fans want from this game is just winning. I don't care how you play, just win.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, because fans, as you know, I'm sure you're a fan as well. I don't know what team you support, but we philosophy fans. We want to see attacking football. We want to see lovely football. We want to see attacking. We don't. We just want to see winning football. Just give us winning football. You know, that's all we're after, because it gives us. We feel superior if my team's winning. That's the most thing that fans want, just to feel superior.
It's true. Even Manchester United yesterday, probably not the better team for most of the game, but came away with the win. Doesn't matter how, got the job done. They'll be back at Wembley for the final. So
that's right. Yeah, that's right. They're also anxious to get a cup final again. They're playing Man City. So again, if you said to them, which way, how would you like to play? Don't care. Just make me win. Just let me feel that elation of standing on the terrace or sitting on the terrace now, standing up occasionally. Give me the elation that I can look over at Man City fans and feel superior. It's nothing to do with football.
Going back to the game on Sunday, Celtic's biggest goal threat, Kyogo's been in fantastic form this season, as everyone has seen, scoring goal after goal. Do you think Rangers need to plan specifically for him? How can they stop him scoring?
There's two things you do. You actually do at the Celtic stud. If Celtic's area, can you close down quickly there and not let anybody get their head up to put Kyogo in behind? Because Kyogo's first stop is in behind. That's where I want to go. So that's where I was saying to you, if you cannot do that, you've got to then go, right, we're going right back here and make sure Kyogo doesn't go in behind. No matter what happens, this fella's not going in behind. He might go short, but at least he's got a chance if he goes short. So again, I think if Rangers will be thinking about this game, it's how do we stop Kyogo going in behind? There's a couple of different ways of doing it. Can you press up higher and make sure they don't put the ball in behind you? When you get the ball back, are you a better team than Celtic? Because if they don't have the ball, then it's no problem. But thirdly, if you cannot do these two things, then you go back and you sit in and say, whatever's happening, young man, you're not going to behind, and neither the winger's going to behind. So that's probably
That's
some thoughts that would come into Michael's head.
The battle in midfield will obviously be crucial, as it usually is. Celtic will be missing Rio Hatate. Does that affect the way they're going to play, or they can deal with that?
Well, he might be back.
Might be back.
You never know. He might be back. He's got a super fitness, and that'd be something that if he is training this week, Andy's got to decide: has he got enough in his locker to play a certain amount of time? Can he keep up to the standards that expected? So it might be back. But again, you're right. It's like most. I always hear people say, "Oh, they need to push forward the Rangers full-backs or the somebody's wing-backs and take the wingers back." Well, if you've not got the ball, you can't do that. It looks stupid standing at the pitch waving. If you've not got the ball, could you pass it to me? Well, don't have the ball, can't pass it to you.
Exactly.
So it's very important. The players in there have to be brave, skillful on the ball, and sharp.
Yeah, I agree. It'll be definitely be an intense game. Moving away from the game itself, but still on the subject of Celtic, and as you mentioned there, Ange Postecoglou, contract's expiring at the end of the season. He's been on a rolling contract up till now. Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts on the likelihood of him extending his stay at Parkhead?
Well, there's nothing wrong with if he's on a rolling contract. I don't know if he's on a rolling contract. The rolling contract always gives you, it's Celtic, you've got a year, no matter what it is, there's always a year on your contract. So that's different from saying your contract. So I really don't know Ange's contract situation. The fact is, I think Ange will be enjoying it so much. You get this buzz from being there. I think what he's going to do, which is, he had some good spells last year in the Champions League. Half an hour against Real Madrid, playing well against Leipzig and things like that. They never got the points they wanted to accumulate. I think Ange would like to go, right, let's get out of the group stage. That would be a feather in his cap. I think he would enjoy that. Then I think the whole of Europe would look up to Celtic and go, well, there's something really going on there.
Yeah, I think obviously he's achieved a lot already, but one thing he hasn't done, and one thing no one's done at Celtic for a while is...
So I wouldn't imagine, absolutely. Yeah, it's not easy because the group stage is hard. There's no doubt about that. But I think it's probably the best place for Ange to get to the last 16 at the moment as a manager. If you get to the last 16 as a manager, you really should be pleased with the achievement that your team. He's got a team, and they'll improve in the summer. Well, it's probably one of the most exciting Celtic teams I've ever seen. I'm not saying that the best Celtic team I've ever seen, but in terms of excitement,
it's definitely a highly dynamic team, aren't they? Got a lot of attacking options. That's what you need in European football as well. Rather than just going there to try and grind out and 1-0, 0-0, they can actually go and hurt teams, which is...
They can, but they can get hurt as well. They can get hurt as well, but that's brave to go and try and do that. That's great. I think the Celtic supporters are enjoying that bravery at the moment, which is fantastic, and they should do as well.
What areas do you feel Celtic need to strengthen over the summer, specifically?
Listen, I think Ange showing in the last, when he got there, there's a lot of people that lose their heroes, Edouard, Ayer, Nietzsche, people like that. Must keep them. Ange went, nah, if they don't want to be here, go. Because what will always happen is there's always going to be new heroes at Celtic. So we must keep them. Celtic have Jota, Aida, Kyogo, Hatate, all these new players that have become heroes. And
do you think a new goalkeeper is necessary, or do you stick with Joe Hart?
Well, I'm not there every day watching him training, and at the moment he seems to be picking up big saves at the right time. The games I've seen him, but like anything, if you want to get better than Joe Hart, what do you spend? Do you spend 15 million on a goalkeeper, or anybody? what do you spend on a midfield player that's better than McGregor and Hatate? And, you know, Celtic have not got that. They'll have to just go along the way they've been doing. 2, 3, 4, 5 million pounds players, because people say it's right. If you want to buy somebody 15 million, that 15 million pound player is worth 100 grand a week. That can't be done at Celtic. So
Yeah.
there's a lot. You know, people are actually saying that, you know, even when they say that Chelsea have spent something in the transfer market, 600, somebody else has spent, Newcastle has spent 360 million. That's not the big deal. The big deal is the wages. That's the big deal. That's what kills clubs. It's not that the transfer pot. It's the wages.
Yeah, agreed.
So that's Celtic's problem's always been that. And they have to search far and wide to get the players they're after. It says, could every department Celtic could be stronger? Of course they could. They could be buying players from Juventus, Milan, but they've not got the money for that.
No, this is true. Do you think Celtic should be concerned that Cameron Carter-Vickers needs an operation on his knee? He's obviously a crucial part of Postecoglou's side.
Again, he's been one of these signings, you know, at £5 million. That's probably the limit with Celtic. I don't think he's something about the wages involved as well. I think he's one of these guys that can play with an injury by the looks of it. He needs something done. As I say, never seems to complain about it. Just turns up, plays. I don't think that's a concern. Today's modern sports science and health, physiotherapy, they're not going to allow somebody to play with any sort of injury. But again, it's up to the player himself. You know, what can he do? Is he like a standard? He's got to win Celtic games with a bit of pain, or protect himself. I think he's one of these guys I'm going to play. As you can see with the number of games he plays.
In terms of the manager, could you see a Premier League team such as Tottenham coming to make him an offer that he potentially couldn't refuse, or do you think he wants to stay at Celtic for another year?
He'll stay at Celtic for another year. I think we'll hope that. If he does, then he's got to go to a club that goes, right, Mr. Postecoglou, we're giving you everything you need, but it's got to be hard, because a lot of the clubs do not, as I said to you, the mentality of Celtic has been super fit, super athletic, technique, and are you willing to buy into this way of playing?
Yeah.
Some of the teams have refused to change no matter what it is, whatever the manager is. And Ange's, if this next move, hoping that he doesn't move for a long, long time. If he does, he's got to go to a club that's got to go, right, we'll back you. It's got to be hard to get the players in. He has to find out with the players who want to do what he wants to do, and where to bring in the players. And that'll be hard. That'll be hard to get the right club. It has to be the right club. And there's a couple of names that have been mentioned. You go, ooh, that's a 2 or 3 year job. That's a 4 year job. Exactly, yeah. So, you know,
feel like he's not.
I can say, in saying that, probably most people said that about Ange going to Celtic. That's a 2 year job, but he did it within 2 months. People get the mentality right, because he had a group of players there that had a humility, and the ones he brought in had a humility and a work ethic and a desire to get better. He's got to look at these clubs and go, are they players want to do that? Are they players want to, you know, dedicate their life to being a footballer?
Exactly, that's the question. And he's got players like Jota, I think someone who favourite for Scottish Player of the Year is someone. Who would take your vote for Scottish Player of the Year at the moment, based on what you've seen?
Probably. I mean, you can't take Taverner out of this.
Yeah.
I mean, the goals he scored is quite phenomenal. The Celtic ones, there could be 6 or 7 in there. They're really good. And then you've got Motherwell, Van Veen at Motherwell, who's had a terrific season. I mean, absolutely terrific season. So we've got McGregor in there, who should be, you know, every time you over the last 6 years, he'll be mentioned. There's no doubt about it. Hatate, excellent. Jota, excellent. Kyogo, 29 goals. Yeah. But he's worked right closing down. So, and Carter-Vickers as well. So, as I said, there's 5 or 6 in there. But But the one thing about them is that Celtic team, they're a team. They are a team, out and out team. The work is everything works as a unit.
The fact that Scotland now in a great position to qualify, you would think, but you've been there with Scotland before, didn't quite make it to Russia 2018. Do you think there's a difference in mentality in the players now? They feel like they can beat any team?
They're a good group. The players have always been a good group. I think there's a more physical aspect to the team now, which is fantastic, especially in the middle part with John McGinn, McTominay. There's a physical aspect to their side, no doubt about it. They're a wonderful group. And then they have to score as a group because they've got a lot of countries have got, you're away again, a lot of countries have got individuals who win the game for them up front, whether we wingers or strikers. At the moment, we're struggling with that. But what we've got is a unit that can score goals, whether it be set plays coming from midfield, we'll wear teams down. I think, we're lucky that way, that it's a group. A lot of international teams rely on individuals like Poland with Lewandowski, and Wales with Bale, who scored 11 of the 12 goals. So that there's teams who rely on big players.
You catch Southampton's game with Arsenal on Friday night. Incredible 3-3 draw, obviously.
Yes. I was flying at the time, so I never seen the game. When I come off the plane, it was 3-1. By the time I got through baggage, it was 3-3. What happened
3-3.
there?
Yeah.
So I thought to myself, because I thought they were going to struggle, Southampton. Then I thought they got to win. Wonderful.
But yeah, do you think Southampton have got a chance of survival now after that point they got against Arsenal?
And make them feel better. I still think it's an uphill struggle. Obviously, I want them to stay up. It's a wonderful club. Mm-hmm. But I think it might be a struggle for them. It might be a struggle. I think over the year, the buying and selling players it's finally got caught up with them. It's finally caught up with them because there's only so much your recruitment can do. And there's only so many times you can chop and change players. So I think it's finally caught up with them. I hope I'm completely wrong.
Yeah, I mean, they've still got a chance, but they've got some difficult fixtures to come. James Ward-Prowse, obviously their star player at the moment. If they do go down, I'd imagine they'll have to sell him, probably a clause in his contract. Where could you see him going? Do you see him joining a top 6 club?
I don't know at the moment. I really don't know. I like him. Obviously, his cross and set plays are magnificent. But I really can't see the bigger clubs. I think they're going further afield to get players, but it'd be a loss, that's for sure, to lose James.
And what did you make of the appointment of Ruben Sellers? An appointment from inside the club, someone with minimal managerial experience. Controversial?
It's funny because usually Southampton on the ball, this young man to say, when you're picking a guy's assistant manager, are you picking him because you think he's right, or are you picking him because the players think he's right? And that's happened, and it's happened there, but it might have happened that the players always give the thumb to the assistant manager because the assistant manager actually never has to tell them the truth at any time. The assistant manager is always the one everybody likes, because he's never had to say horrible, nasty things to them to make them play. He's never had to tell them the truth. He's always had to kind of massage their egos. So I kind of worry about when the assistant manager gets a job right away.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Let's leave it at that. Hang on. Let's move on to the Leeds situation at the moment. In January, Leeds spent a club record 35 million on Jorginho Ruta. He hasn't yet scored or managed an assist. Do you think that was just a risky piece of business? He hadn't really scored that many goals in Germany either. What did you make of that outlay rather than on someone who's kind of Premier League proven? You're going to guarantee.
Yeah, I think Jesse would have had the final say in that one, wouldn't it? Jesse March, and he'd probably known from Germany.
True, true.
And then Jess is looking to him because there's a couple of front men who don't score too many goals, but they give something to the team. So Jess is probably, well, okay, if I can get him, if I can hold the ball a bit better, and get my wide men into play, I can get something from midfield players. So he's had this image he wants to play the team. Obviously, that's not worked. You have to change the manager. And sometimes when you change a manager like that, especially who's just been signed with that manager, probably close to that manager, there's confusion in his mind, that's for sure. But I seen Leeds a couple of months ago at Aston Villa, and they played some wonderful football. My only problem, I thought, was they're a bit lightweight. They're a bit lightweight compared to most teams. Aston Villa kind of muscled the result out the game, but Leeds' performances as a team was quite good, and I'm seeing that quite a bit. I've never seen the game on Saturday, but that was meant to be a bit of a disappointment. But again, going back to what I said, that fans are not interested, really interested in how you play. We do sometimes, but we're hypocrites, fans. We have no philosophies, really. We just want to win football games, And now the coaches are saying we're playing this way, play that way, I'm doing this, I'm playing 3 men, one going in there. The fans go, that's very good, but just let me see you win the football.
Well, this is it. When you're in a relegation dogfight, it's about scrapping for points, not
it's got to be, obviously.
Yeah,
and it's not being scared of the situation as well. That's been the problem. I've been there myself, Casinosite as a manager. It's taken on a challenge and not being worried about consequences of maybe losing the ball in midfield, or maybe losing the ball there, or making a mistake. It's having to deal with the consequences of mistakes when you're down there, and putting aside and getting on with it, and relishing the fact that you can stay up. Staying up with this division is like winning a cup. It's as good as winning a cup.
It really is. Moving on to Manchester United, a couple of questions about, I don't know if you saw Harry Maguire against Sevilla, obviously not his finest day.
I've never seen it. No.
Okay, well, yeah, he was at fault for the first goal. David De Gea didn't help him, but then the managers left him out of the squad entirely yesterday off the back of that. What do you think the future holds for Harry Maguire now at Manchester United? He's probably 4th choice centre back, 5th choice after Luke Shaw. So.
Yeah. I think it's one of these things. When your players want truth from you, I think it'd be good for Harry, because Harry's a great player. Played in the right way. He's a smashing player. But he has to have the conversation with the manager. Do you really want me? Do you really want me to stay? Because the poor guy's taking some flack. If I was him, but mostly it's on social media as such, which is a horrible world to get involved in. But for his own good, he wants to go somewhere where the manager goes, right, you've got to get what he doesn't want to be going through is this whipping boy of everything that goes wrong. And that's what we're even speaking about. I'd rather not speak about him, but that seems where it's got to be. But for his own sake, he's got to see, in life, you decide where you want to go. He decides what his future is. Fine, I'll go there, and I'll be a good player there, or I'll be a great player there. I kind of had that kind of myself at Manchester United, but my time was up, and you go right. Be honest with yourself, you're moving on, and you move on, and end up going to Leeds and having a wonderful spell in my career, a wonderful spell. So I can only hope, and it no longer becomes a whipping boy of the media and the social media. I think he deserves a break.
Yeah. You mentioned there your time at Old Trafford. You were playing on the right side of midfield. I think for the majority now, Man United have got Anthony playing there, £70 million player. What have you made of his debut season in the Premier League?
Oh, he has assets. He kind of reminds me. Now, here's hoping nobody takes this. It's horrible when you say this and you put another name in and people go, he thinks he's as good as him. Well, I don't think he's anywhere as good as Ronaldo, none whatsoever.
But yeah, you can see how he's thinking that way. Yeah.
Fact is, if you remember when, so you're actually thinking, there's too much work on the ball. And he was, when Ronaldo first got there, but at that point, you had people in the team who tell Ronaldo the truth. Excuse me, we don't want you dancing when you can cross it a bit earlier. We're used to the ball going in early. Use your ability to get in good areas and produce something. We're not here to see you. So I think at that point, Ronaldo took it on board what Sir Alex was saying, what Roy Keane was saying, what Scholes was saying, all these guys were saying. And he took it on board and he understood that. And he become this once in a life, well, say that was Messi there at the same time. This unbelievable player. I don't think your man can get anywhere near where Ronaldo's went. But I think when he's playing us, you've got to say to yourself, am I doing this for myself? Am I doing it for the team? If you're generally doing it for the team, then fine. If you're doing it for yourself, then cut it out. I think there's a kind of thing that Neymar does that. Neymar does it for himself. You never see the top players try to ridicule other players he's playing with. They do it for the team. They have a humility, you know. So Ronaldo picked it up really early, and he's still playing at 37, 38. Understand that. So your thought is, am I really doing it for the team? And the question should be asked for the manager, the players are playing. Are you doing this for the team, or are you doing it for yourself? And we've had the last couple of weeks, we've had things, magical things from him. But as I said to you, you need to. So sometimes when life's not great, you have to be a good teammate first. Mm-hmm. Not every day you can be a great player. So you have to be a good teammate.
Someone that he's playing alongside in midfield there, Bruno Fernandes, is being criticised at points throughout the season for his kind of petulant attitude, but he's still the captain. Yesterday, he celebrated when the Brighton player missed a penalty, which not everyone would do. But is he the type of player? Obviously, he's going to fight for the team, but at the same time, he's going to antagonise and rile up the opposition. Is he the type of player you would have as a captain in your team, or would you rather have someone who's more kind of
Listen, it depends what he does behind the scenes as a captain as well. But as a leader on the field, you're meant to be everything what the club wants from a player. When you're the captain, you have to try and be the best player. You have to get the best out of everybody in your team. You have to be the best trainer. You have to set the best standards on and off the pitch. And I think the standards, which again, that comes to how brave are the people around about you. But as the people around about you have low standards and they don't understand, because we're actually telling the world now that some of these standards are acceptable. And I hear it in the commentary and people think, yes, but these are older guys who wouldn't have had it in their day. You know, if you think about the commentary now, you're right. But there's a lot of young people in these teams who think, well, that's part of life. It's no part of life, really. So I think he doesn't do himself. What we're talking about is a wonderful, wonderful footballer that can do things that not many people do. Can you just imagine if you took away, if somebody sat down and spoke to him and said, listen, could you take away that? Remember you got the hit in the chest, but you held your face, or you did this and did that. If you could take that away, you'd be one of the best loved footballers in the world football. Think about that. But again, it needs people around the boot to say, no, it's not acceptable. That it's definitely not acceptable if you're a leader, because a leader wants everybody to follow his example. Do you really want everybody in Manchester United, all the way through your youth system, following that example?
Yeah. No, you'd hope not. You'd hope not. So one final question. This one's a bit of a hypothetical one, but off the back of Tottenham's annihilation yesterday at the hands of Newcastle, it's feasible that Harry Kane could leave the club in the summer. If Manchester United went all out and signed him, do you think they could challenge for the title next season?
Yes, and I think Harry Kane every Tottenham supporter, every Tottenham player, every Tottenham manager should thank whatever God they believe in, that he's been there for the last 12 years, because he's made you as a player better. He's as a fan, you've enjoyed it watching him. As a manager, he's made you better, whoever the manager is. Every fan, Tottenham fan,
Yeah,
England fan, and I think now, because of the last 12 years, he deserves to go.
could you see him with Rashford on the left, him up top, and Anthony on the right? Could be
I think he need people, because I've not got a clue where he's got. Listen, it could be Bayern Munich, it could be Real Madrid. Benzema might be coming in. He could go anywhere. He is I think, along with Benzema, the best front man in the world, and I think he deserves a part of the show and say, "Well done." When you go and enjoy yourself, and then to be back to Tottenham and say, "Well, how good are you as a team? How good are you as a club without one man?" Well, that would be good as well.
And a final question, just about yourself and your own personal ambitions. I read that you'd been linked with the Aberdeen job recently and the Leeds job when that was vacant. Do you have plans to return to management? Obviously, you do. I know you're waiting for the right opportunity. Or...
No.
Oh,
That's long.
You sure?
Listen, see, with this game, absolutely. I know more about the game now than I did when I started at Coventry, or even though I left Scotland. I've collected all this thing. I keep collecting information. I have no longer got the anger and the drive to fight the war, which you need as a manager.
Yeah, fair. You certainly had it when you were in charge, I recall.
Personal battles, you need to have battles with players. So I do not have that now. But what I do is I use my knowledge to work with younger coaches, younger players, different parts of football clubs to help them. So I am in a good spot at the moment. Life's fantastic, and I won't put that at risk by going back into management. That's for sure.
Oh, fair enough. Well, yeah. As long as that valuable knowledge is being used in some way.
Energy.
Yeah.
Good. Life's very good.